this is Jeannie with Norna Scraps, and there's been quite a bit of chatter in the Facebook pages about how do I actually bring in my die cutter designs, like my Applique or Sizzix dies, into Embrilliance to digitize them. And I've been playing around with it, trust me. I've got 3 videos that I can't show you because it just didn't work. But I think I finally found the technique that I like the best. In fact, I've been using it and it works really well. What you're going to need, and not all the supplies are shown here, is your die cutter shape, which is this. You're going to need a project folder like you use in school, and I prefer the ones that are colored on the outside and white on the inside, and I'll explain that in just a moment. You're going to need a ruler to cut a square square of the folder, and you're also going to need a glue stick, which you can't see here, but I'll show you why in just a second. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to cut a square of fabric, a square of your folder that fits your die cutter or the shape on your die cutter. You may not want all the shapes. In this particular image, I cut a piece that was 6 by 6. It was convenient. That's what my ruler was, and it worked perfectly with this particular die. The die I'm using today is Fun Flowers from Applique, and I'll have the number on the credits page. I then layered my paper, my die, and the mat, and ran it through my Applique Go. And what I ended up with was a negative image, a positive image of my design, and this is what it looks like on my particular die. I want to point out to you in this particular image the fact that you have to be careful with your folder that you cut. If you look where my finger is pointing, the hump on the flower is pointed a particular direction. Because I put my folder white side down, this mimics this. That's going to become important when you try to cut your fabric when you decide to applique it on in your machine embroidery. If you do it and it's your choice, but if you do it the opposite direction, you're going to end up with a mirrored image, and you're not going to be happy that you're appliquing the background or the back of your fabric to your piece that you're working on. Finally, I take a regular size 8.5 by 11 inch, and I know this isn't right for my European friends, but translate that to, I believe it's A4 size piece of paper, just a regular size piece of paper that comes out of my printer, and I use my glue stick on the white side of my folder or on the wrong side of my cutout, because I want the green side facing down on the platen or the glass plate of my scanner. So this is going to actually mimic the way my fabric lays again on my die. And by glue sticking this down, then what I've done is I've decreased the number of shadows that are going to show up around the outside edge of my cutout, and I'm going to actually have a much cleaner scan when I get into my StitchArtist software. That said, let's go to StitchArtist. Okay, we've opened our Embrilliance Suite software, and I am going to be using StitchArtist for this particular design. Now, please understand, I have StitchArtist 3 installed on my computer, as well as Enthusiast, as well as Essentials, and it's because of that, it's hard to tell what's what because they all work so well together. A definite plus in this particular program. But I can assure you that you will be able to complete this design in StitchArtist 1, 2, or 3. Please don't let the toggles confuse you. I'll try to be very clear about what I'm going to do. First thing I'm going to do is open a new page in my menu. Now this hoop is not necessarily the hoop I would use on my machine. I was playing around with it. It's still there. I'm going to get rid of it because I don't need it. But for now, I'm going to go to my Create Design menu, and I'm going to select the image that I've scanned. I happen to know it's Epson 002. Click on it, It is correct, and I'm going to open it. When it enters the Embrilliance Suite software, if you look at it, it is the shape that I scanned, but it is not the size. You can look at the size bar up here and know that it's probably not 8.5 inches wide. I am going to, at this point, return to my Create menu, and I'm going to look in this corner. No, my white page, my paper page is not 8.5. I need it to be the exact size of the scan. And the reason I need it to be the exact size of the scan is because if my white paper is the exact size, then my green flower will be the exact same size as a flower on my die cut. So we're going to change this. I'm going to, with the lock engaged, I'm going to change the width to 8.5 or 8.5. And you can see that proportionately I now have a size of 8.5 by 11, which is perfect for what I need. Now I'm going to return to my Create Design menu, and I'm going to move in, zoom in on my flower. Couple things I want to show you, and let me show you right in this corner because I think it shows. If you look, because there's a little bit of depth to my flower, if you look right here, there's some shadowing going on. This is going to be a bit of an issue for using the Magic Wand tool, which is what I'm going to use. I just wanted you to be aware of that because we're going to work with it and it will be just fine. This baby digitized. For this particular exercise, I'm going to be using the Area Magic Wand. It is the first magic wand on the bottom line of tools next to Draw. It's that one. This magic wand works really well for crisp, clean black and white lines and images. I don't have that, so I'm going to be using this one. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select my tool and I'm going to click in the center of my area. To set the stitches, I right-click off the design. You can see in the Objects menu that allows me a line. But if I look at this, there's going to be a lot of cleanup to do on this particular design. True confessions, I have not used this tool to its fullest because of that. I think it's just quicker, cleaner for me to digitize my own, then I get the lower number of nodes that I like in my designs that give me a cleaner stitch out, that give me a cleaner outline. Based on that, let's undo it. I got to thinking, but you should be able to adjust this magic wand. Well, duh, go back and read the manual. So I'm going to go in, and I discovered in this process the tool that I'm circling now, sensitivity tool. The lower the sensitivity, the least likely that magic wand is going to be to grab the outline. The higher the sensitivity, the more accurately that wand is going to be able to grab the outline and imitate it. So, two ways you can adjust your sensitivity. I'm going to go higher. I can either do it on the slider or I can type it. What I've said, I'm going to redo the lines to my design. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select my Area Magic Wand and I'm going to increase my sensitivity to 210. I've already got it typed in, but I'm going to do it anyway. You can use the slider or you can type in the numbers. And I'm going to press Enter to set it. And now I'm going to take my wand into the green area and click. And if you look closely, you can already see how much cleaner this outline is. In fact, I could probably go ahead and use it like this, but I'm not going to. To set my nodes, I take my wand off the image and right-click. And now you can see a line has popped into my Objects menu. I want to do a little automatic cleanup, and so I'm going to go to Embrilliance, the Create menu, and I'm going to go to Outline and reconstruct my outline. Before I do anything, quickly check the nodes and see where they are. I hit Reconstruct, and you can see that some of them have moved. Right click on that, and I'm going to do again just because I think I'm a little OCD. No, a little more cleanup. This new node right here jumped from down here to up there. Let's see if we can do anything else. Let's outline, reconstruct. Again, a few more moved. And every time I reconstruct my outline, some of my nodes are moving closer to the area. Create outline, reconstruct outline. And I don't think any of them moved that time. We'll do one more time. Check. Reconstruct. And I think I'm pretty much done with that. Let's say OK and deselect. There are, if you look at, let me change the color so you can see this. Let's go baby blue. It's dark enough. If you look at it closely, there's a few places that I still am not hugging the outline of my design, this being one of them. It's actually pretty good. This is another one. Let's go here and let's click on that node. What I want to make sure is it's a curved node. It wasn't, it was a cusp, and now I can just drag it in. A lot of times that will take care of the problem, is just right clicking on your node and checking the type of node that it is. Down at the very corner right here, if I move my nodes around, I'm going to delete that one, so I click on it, delete it, and just simply use my handles. Again, pulling long ways, and it snugs that right up to that line. Move that in just a little bit. And let's move over. I'm having a little bit of a tough time scrolling on my computer, but I think it's my computer. Right here, remember a curve is 3 points. This is actually determining the curve between these 3 points, so I'm going to take one of those nodes out. Right click on the white, which is the node, making sure it's a curve, and then bring it down to my line. Pull out to smooth. This node comes in, again right click on it to make sure it's a curve. And now I have a curve right here, which I could probably straighten up just a little bit. There you go. By moving to the tip, making sure it's a curve, not a cusp, and adjusting my fissure handle. Move straight in. There. Oops. 3 points. Move this in. But by increasing the sensitivity as much as I did, I have a whole lot less that I have to worry about changing. I want you to look at this. This was kind of square. Something tells me that might be a cusp because of that, and it was. Again, select the node, delete, and pull my handles out to smooth around that curve. Double check, make sure it's a curve, right click, curved. Part of the problem is this node is way outside the green area. And we'll get rid of that because it's really, don't need that many nodes right in here. Move this to where the curve starts to change. That's another good point. If you're creating and you have nodes, what you really want to do, again based on that idea of threes, is move your nodes around so that they are spaced. You don't want them too close because that will create a funky curve. I use such scientific terms. And yeah, the cleanup takes a little bit of time, but I'll tell you what, it is so much better than doing this all by hand. And that's a good example. You want to grab the white node, not the Bezier handle, or Bezier, depending on where you learned your French. And I'm going to continue doing that all the way around my outline, and I'll be back with you shortly to let you know, or let you see, the finished product. So I now have my line digitized, and I am going to, had to make sure my QuickTime was recording. And if you remember, I have my nodes are in a few different places, and it actually works really well. So the next part of this is I've got the line, and now I'm going to set the stitches. I simply want an applique. So I'm going to select my applique stitch from my stitch menu. I would like, because the other one that I did is a blanket stitch, I'm going to have it in a blanket stitch. This is totally your choice. Fabric preview turned on, and yes, it is a pre-cut. My position is going to be a 0.2. That means that my positioning stitches are about 0.2 of a millimeter away from smaller than what it should be. What this does is this allows for me to place my stitching and not have to worry about an extra heavy outline on the outside. I am not going to use a materials setting stitch because I will use a spray adhesive in order to get my material flat to have it stick to the background material, and I want to prevent further user changes to my design. That said, this is pretty much done. Let me decrease the width of my blanket stitch, and that's my preference. Like I said, I want it to match what I was doing earlier. And there you have your applique. The one thing I would suggest is, number one, saving it, and number two, I am going to actually delete my picture. I don't know why. It could have been a fluke, but I had completed the design, saved it with the image, and when I brought it in, it had changed the size of everything. Not good when I'm using a die-cut fabric. So I'll select it from my object path, hit delete, and now this should remain this size, and just to be on the safe side, I'm going to create, and it's exactly the size quoted to me by Applique. So that is how I digitize my dies, and this design is not for sale. It is simply instructional for what I've already purchased. Until next time.